Screenshot.
Hello to everybody. This is Men's Boot Camp, Part 2 Shop Talkers. We're here today. We thank God for everyone that is here. We're going to give you everybody a minute to log in. Come on in. Please like and share. Here we are. We're up. Come on in. We're up. Liking and sharing is starting. We want to get all of our fathers, all of our parents, all of our men, all of our boys. If you're looking at me, if you have a man or a son in the house, go ahead and pull them to your phone. Let them know Men's Boot Camp virtual mentoring program is going on here at Galilee Baptist Church. My name is Brian Wilson. I'm the pastor at Galilee Baptist Church. Today we have with us a panel of men, and we're all trying to learn how to grow. Let me tell you a little bit about Men's Boot Camp. Men's Boot Camp is an idea that we basically was birthed by a pastor in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he's been grateful enough to share that model with us at Galilee Baptist Church, and it's a part of our men's ministry. Boot Camp stands for, it's an acronym that stands for Because of Others' Testimony, Christ Answered My Prayer. Here's what we believe in men, that through each other's testimony, we learn more about who God is, but we also grow. So this is a platform of transparency where we talk about what it took for us to become men, all the way from boyhood to where we are now. We also discover that it's a process. So hopefully today, through our testimony, some boy or some man will be helped through our testimony, because again, Boot Camp stands for Because of Others' Testimonies, Christ Answered My Prayer. Again, I want to introduce myself. My name is Brian Wilson. I'm the pastor of Galilee Baptist Church right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Today we have with us Brother Michael RV, which is one of our brothers that's a member of our church at Galilee Baptist Church. We also have with us Deacon Stephen Grant, that's also a member of our church. We have with us Brother Patrick Brown, who is the author of the book that we will be centering our conversation around today, called Lost Black Boys. This is his book, and this is what our conversation takes place. And we have with us Pastor Brandon Keith Lacey Sr. of the New Life Full Gospel Baptist Church right here in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm gonna allow each one of them to tell you a little bit about themselves and a little bit about their stories briefly as we go into our conversation. Do me a favor though, as they do that, I need all of you that are viewing right now to touch the share button. Make sure you touch the share button. All right. We want to get the word out. We want to get our testimonies out. Right now, hit the share button. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Brother Michael RV, since you're right next to me on our screen today, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself real briefly.
Hello, my name is Michael RV. I'm a member of Galilee Baptist Church. I am a husband, a father of two beautiful girls. I'm glad to be a part of the boot camp. Member of Galilee for 2 years plus. Glad to be here.
All right, thank you, Brother RV. We have with us also Brother Deacon Stephen Grant. Introduce yourself to us.
All right, good morning, everybody. Yeah, Stephen Grant, husband, father, born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina, been in Shreveport since '94, principal at Green Oaks Performing Arts Academy, former coach and teacher at Fair Park High School, Marshall High School in Marshall, Texas, Northwood High School, and just happy to be on board.
Brother Grant, thank you so much. We now have with us Brother Patrick Brown. Introduce yourself, Brother Patrick Brown.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick Brown. I'm a African-American entrepreneur that lives here in Shreveport, born and raised in Shreveport. I own a pre-owned car lot. I have rental properties, and I'm the author of Lost Black Boys. And I'm just happy to be here motivated to be here and just amongst these good men, trying to help young black boys, young men, and just people in general.
Absolutely, man. Listen, I want to say just how big and how much of a commitment it shows for us to show back up 2 weeks later and continue this conversation. So I want to personally thank each one of you for just being committed to the cause. And we have with us my friend, brother, Pastor Brandon Keith Lacey Sr. Go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning to all of you. And let me first say, man, just thank you for even including me in this discussion, man. It's very powerful. I enjoyed myself in the last discussion, and I'm looking forward to continuing even today and so on. Of course, even as I mentioned last time, lifelong resident of Shreveport, Louisiana, graduated from Fair Park High School, class 2000. Of course, I was there with Coach Grant. I probably just told his age there, but I was there with Coach Grant was there. And world famed marching band, Grambling State University. That's what me and Brian took our relationship to another level. And of course, just an awesome experience there. I'm a pastor in the city. I've been pastoring for about, I want to say 13 years here in Shreveport, New Life Full Gospel House of Worship. Husband, 15 years, my wife, Angela Lacey. 3 children, Brianna, BJ, and Braylon. And I've written a few books of my own over the years. And, man, just excited to be in this discussion, man. Looking forward to it.
All right, Brother Grant, unmute yourself for me. Brother Grant, all right, we got you today. All right, Brother Grant, listen, this is part 2 of our conversation on 2 weeks ago. We started what we call Shop Talk. And we started talking about, again, Lost Black Boys by our author, Brother Patrick Brown. And we were on chapters 1 and 2. And today we go to chapters 3 and 4. Brother Grant is going to moderate the conversation today. And then I'm just going to kind of just chime in. But I wanted this to just be almost like, you know, the barbershop. Much of what we learn sometimes about manhood comes from the conversations at the barbershop, whether that's good or bad. And so we want to make this a spiritual shop talk, all right? But we want to be transparent as well. So listen, tune in. Brother Grant, go ahead and take the control. And let's have a good conversation today.
All right, good morning. Good morning to everybody out there. Once again, we've asked that you would like and share this. For those of you who didn't join us last week, then you kind of missed some real deep conversations. One of the topics that we dealt with last week was really fear, facing your fears, and how as men, it was important, even from growing up. Patrick laid out in his book a number of things from his experiences that I thought a lot of men could relate to. And so we kind of addressed those issues about fear. And we also then addressed the issue about our work ethic, because it's very important that a man develops and has a work ethic. And we many of the guys, even my son was on last week and gave some good insight to what it means to face your fears, but also having that ethical work habit that you must develop as a man. And we went depth and deep into that. So, you know, we had a number of different things. And for you guys who were on last week, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add from last week. I'll start with Patrick, since these are your words and thoughts from last week, Patrick.
I mean, I was completely happy with how it went last week. Really nothing more to add, just ready to move forward and talk about the next few chapters. I think it's important that the people that did miss last week go to Galilee's page and look at it, because it was some good lessons, some good teaching taking place during last week.
All right. Brother RV or Brother Lacey, you have anything you wanted to add from last week's lesson, something that you reflected on, maybe you want to add before we move forward?
No, I don't necessarily have anything to add. I agree with Patrick. I think last week's discussion went very well. And I would encourage everybody who's watching right now, the same sentiments that Patrick said, just go back and watch that discussion from 2 weeks ago. So forgive me if I said last week, but 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was a very powerful discussion, a very a strong introductory piece to the rest of the book and the rest of the conversation that we're going to have. So I think everybody just really did such a great job at presenting information from that. There's really not much to add to it.
Brother RV?
I agree with the previous two gentlemen. Everybody did a great job bringing the information forward. I highly recommend, like they said, go back and watch the video and even get the book. Get the book.
Yeah, and this is the book. If you guys have not gotten this book, I'm stressing to you, please make this a must-have. If you are a mother, a father, a grandmother, whatever your relationship is, go and purchase this book. If you are a man, I'm telling you, you need to go purchase this book, get it for your sons. I plan to get some of these, and I'm actually going to have them in my library at my school at Green Oaks. This is how important this book is. It's a very important book for us to have. So
hey, Brother Steve, let me chime in real quick too, just real quick before we start the conversation. The first thing is, if any of us are on Facebook Live or YouTube at the same time, just turn your volumes down so we won't get the feedback as you kind of look at it. The second thing is Brother Forrester Lawson, brother. This is for you, Brother Patrick Brown. In the comment section, he wants to know if the book is available for purchase outside of Shreveport. Of course it is, but I want to go ahead and let you answer his question now. Let me tell you who Brother Forrester Lawton is. Brother Forrester Lawton is over the National Baptist Convention Men's Ministry. So the National Baptist Convention Men's Ministry, he's in charge of that national body of brotherhood men. And so he wants to know if this book is available outside of Shreveport. Go ahead and just info him in real quick about how you can get your book.
Yes, the book can be purchased on Amazon.com. You can get the paperback version or the Kindle version on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon.com and put in Lost Black Boys, and it'll come up.
All right,
outside of Shreveport.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Go ahead, brother Steve. I just wanted to get that in.
Amazon.com for everybody else. Okay, so this week we got really some powerful messaging today. Today we're dealing, there's a chapter in Patrick's book called Smiling Doesn't Mean You're Weak. And I'm going to let Patrick kind of introduce what does that mean and what was the basis for you writing this, and then we're going to talk about some of I think some real key points in this particular chapter here. Smiling doesn't mean you're weak. Patrick, would you kind of expound on that?
Well, as black, I'm gonna be frank. It's a lot of killing going on. A lot of killing, a lot of fighting, and so it's a lot of anger. And I want young men, young boys to know that it's okay to be happy. Coming up, I'm 46 years old. So I came up during the time where, you didn't show your smile that much. It was a form of weakness. And I didn't realize until I got, a little older, that's just not a good way to be, because you're harboring a lot of stuff on the inside and you're not allowing yourself to release your happiness. So, I want young men, especially men of color, to know that it's okay to smile. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to have fun. It's okay. You don't have to be an actor. If you're in the band and you like playing an instrument, or if you like dancing, or whatever it is you like doing that brings you happiness, be happy. It's okay. You ain't got to be tough. You ain't got to be the tough guy. Matter of fact, this is funny to me, but matter of fact, we all have white guys that we know. And a white guy will admit that he can't fight. He'll say, man, I can't fight. Black men don't do that. We think we supposed to be able to fight. like it's a badge of honor to be able to fight, which, defending yourself is one thing. But initiating a fight or trying to display toughness is another thing. And we shouldn't have to be able to fight. What you're fighting for? If they're not messing with your kids or your family, there's no reason to even be fighting or thinking about fighting. But we, as black men, we leave our house every day, if we're honest, saying, I hope I ain't got to whoop nobody but today. It's in our mind all the time. Even me, it's a habit for me to grab my gun when I leave my house. My gun is registered, and I'm not grabbing it with the hopes of shooting anybody. But just from where I came from and how I came up, and I feel naked if I don't have my gun, and I ain't never used it. I ain't never used the gun. Like I ain't never even thought about shooting nobody. But in my mind, I think I need my gun when I leave my house. And so I don't know how we completely fix that. But I do know it starts with letting young boys know and young men know that it's okay to be happy. It's okay when I see each one of you guys to shake your hand and smile and just show happiness. That's all.
Yeah.
Now you said, I thought you said a lot when you said it's a habit, and I'm reading, quoting right from the book. It's habit for black men of all ages, both young and old, to walk around with their faces frowned at. And the reason I brought that up is because historically, if you go back in the history of our country, especially in the late 1800s, 1900s through much of the 1900s, in many areas, especially in the Deep South, black men who walked around frowning were perceived to be a threat in society. So you were pretty much eagerly encouraged and darn nearly forced to just smile in the presence of white Americans or just in general. And we call it shucking and jiving and step and fetching type stuff. But what you're saying now is that today you see, and even when you were growing up, men took on this mantra, men and boys took on the mantra that frowning was going to be, how you going to see me. So my question to all of you guys on the panel is, what is it that you think have so many young men, besides the idea I want to be tough, but they're frowning or they're not smiling or there is not much joy in their life? What do you think are the roots of these things and what's causing it?
Well, I think that it's and this is coming from personal experience. I think that it's a survival mechanism, and Patrick hit on it in his conversation. When I was growing, there's nothing gangster about me. I never was a tough guy. I never was a gangster, but I grew up in the neighborhood where if you wasn't a gangster, you better know some, and you better at least present yourself as if you have gangster tendencies.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I mean, I grew up in neighborhoods where was predominantly a Crip neighborhood, and so I knew a lot of Crips. And if you grow up around that and you hang around that, you better you're gonna get tested at some point.
Yes.
And if it is discovered that you are testable, you will constantly get tested. And so we developed this mentality that I need to let it be known that I'm not testable, and that if you test me, then it's a test we're gonna take together. We developed that mentality at a young age because it starts from our early encounters with men. See, as African American men, because many of us don't grow up with men in the home, our first encounters with men, especially black men, are outside the home. And normally they ain't good encounters. Normally we get tested early. In kindergarten, we get tested. Somebody want to see whether or not they can get us firecrackers. And the moment they find out they can get us firecrackers, we'll never be able to enjoy lunch again. And so we have to develop this persona that becomes difficult to turn off later on in life. So now we're adults who spent the last 15, 16, 17 years of our lives having to have a tough persona. And when we become adults, it's almost as if we've developed a sort of Jekyll and Hyde personality, sort of a bipolar personality, where the real me is really a cool dude, but I can't let everybody know the real me. So I turn on this persona, and then after a while, I don't know how to turn that persona off. The early years, and I'm gonna stop and let somebody else speak on this, but the early years of my marriage were very difficult, primarily because after spending years of having to be tough, I didn't know how to turn tough off. When my wife needs me to be compassionate, when she needs me to be loving, when she needs me to be a listening ear. And so I've developed that persona and that toughness. It's where it's now hard to turn off. And so I think it's just a survival mechanism that we adapt because of the environment that we have to grow up in.
You said something. I want one of the other brothers to speak more on this. Not being able to turn it off. Do you think that's a direct result of how traditionally, especially in our communities, we are raised not to express how we feel at an early age? So if I am being leave the house as a young man, I can't come home and tell my brothers or whoever in the household that there's this guy bothering and picking on me and I don't know what to do. Or if I hurt myself and I fall crying, we've been raised that stop that crying, boy, you ain't no girl. How do y'all feel that upbringing meshes with what I have to go out? Because my reality in the streets may not actually be nothing like what it is in the home, and sometimes it is, but most time it's not. So just kind of talk about how our boys are raised, and as we get older, as Brandon said, we come into these issues now because we don't know how to turn it off.
Brother Mike, you can go ahead since he hadn't said anything.
Man, I haven't. I understand a lot of where that can come from because I was brought up with a man in the house. My stepdad raised me, and I heard a lot of that. You know, if my main thing is I would if I get in a fight, I better fight back, and I better not cry, or I'll have to come home and deal with him. It was that kind of situation. Or I knew about if I did, I couldn't really cry at school. You know, you can't cry if you get in a fight or whatever, because that means that everybody else gonna, take a turn on you. So I get that side of you better. I was one that stayed to myself. I got picked on, but it was mostly like the jokes. So I got in a couple of fights, but I didn't really get in a lot of fights. But when it was time to fight, you had to do what you had to do. And if you got beat up, you just got beat up. But I guarantee you might knock me down, but you were going to walk away with a memory. And, if you ever got tested, I'm going to leave something on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to leave whatever it is. And for me, it was survival. If I'm going to fight, then I'm going to fight like my life depended on it. So, just having a stepdad in the house and knowing that, hey, if I get hurt, I can't cry. And the other side of that coin is we're talking about it's okay to smile. A lot of young men and young boys raising up, we don't know that it's okay to cry. That's something else we don't talk about. But
I'm glad you said that.
I didn't learn to cry till I got older. I held a lot of stuff in that I was a victim to or was witnessed, and just didn't know that it was okay to cry. And, you can make yourself sick. You holding this stuff in, and then you do lash out. And you do come off as this angry person. Sometimes I have to remind myself to smile.
I'm glad you said that, because in Patrick's in the book, Patrick, you said specifically that boys and men, we need to learn to smile. And I want to read it because I don't want nobody to think that I'm making it up. That he says this. He says, each time a man smiles, a little bit of pain is released. Talk about that, Patrick, because this is flipping from, it's all right to cry, because when we cry, sometimes that releases a lot of stuff from us. But Patrick is saying, in this regards, smiling will help release a little bit of pain every time you smile. Talk about that, Patrick.
Well, I want to be happy, and I like being happy. And for a very long time, I'm piggybacking on what Brother Lacey said. As a black male, you become something that you're really not. I'm not this tough guy, but I put on like I was, and I put on like I was for a long time. And so once I started letting that go and start smiling, I enjoy being happy. I don't want to fight nobody, and I don't want nobody hitting me. I don't want to get hit in the face. I don't want to bring no harm towards nobody. I don't want any harm brought towards me. And I think a lot of us feel that way. And I want to let black boys know it's okay to feel that way. I like laughing. I like smiling. I like my most happiest moments is when I'm playing with my kids. And we laughing and it's nothing like it. I love it. And so every time you smile as a black man, you releasing a little bit of pain. You telling the world it's okay, and you kind of telling yourself it's okay. We don't have to be so mad. We don't have to be so upset. So yes,
right,
it ain't real deep, but that's exactly what I meant by it.
All right, Brother Steve, chiming in with a question.
Okay.
James Jackson wants to know, why is crying a sign of weakness?
That's the thing. It's not a sign of weakness. If crying is a sign of weakness, then Jesus is weak, because the Bible says Jesus wept at Lazarus' funeral, and that's the stigma that we have to get over. It's not a sign of weakness. It was labeled a sign of weakness because of the environment that we grew up in. But we have to take that back. And as Patrick said earlier, the steps to that, I don't have the answer to, but we have to take it back and prove, especially the black men, that it's not a sign of weakness, and that being emotional doesn't emasculate a man. You can be masculine and emotional. Men, because and this kind of goes back to the absence of father figure that many of us have. And I know everybody doesn't fall in this category, but most of our young black men do that because we don't have father figures, or those of us who do probably had a flawed example of it. We're not taught how to navigate our emotions. Women have it naturally, and that's a whole nother discussion that we get into. But women have a natural capacity to navigate their emotions. Men don't. We have to be taught it in a way that women do not. And because very few of us are taught how to navigate our emotions, it drives negative connotations. I had a conversation with my son just last week, my oldest son, about this very thing, because there was something that he was crying about, and I never told him to stop crying. I told him, when you get yourself together and you're ready to talk, we're gonna talk about it, but let it out, get it out, because that's something on the inside of you that's screaming for attention, and anything that needs attention is gonna, no matter how you try to cover it, it's gonna scream until it gets the attention that it deserves. So it's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's one of the things we have to be able to teach all young men as they're growing up, and tell them that crying is just one way to express that there is stress in my life. Yeah, that's all crying is. It is one way. It's one version of how we express that I am under distress or I'm frustrated. Crying doesn't always mean necessarily something physically hurt me. Crying is an example of the body. It is the heart. It is literally your heart and your mind at a point of stress, and it releases it out. As a matter of fact, to hold back how you feel internally actually stresses the body even more so, because then we internalize it. When we internalize it, then it's difficult for us to then share it. That's why most time when you ask a man who is crying from his heart or his mind, but not from his tear ducts, what's wrong, what's going on, we say nothing.
Right.
Because we are now internalizing it, trying to figure out how we can solve it, when in fact, so we see crying and people say it's a sign of weakness, but it's just a sign that you are alive, that you are actually alive and that you feel and that you are dealing with something, but it does not mean in that. Okay, Brother RV, you had your hand ready.
Yes, sir. And I feel like a part of the solution is we don't have enough people to facilitate the environment for those that need to cry. You know, like we check on each other. Like some of us are in the school system where, you know, you can kind of tell, Brother Grant, you've been in it long enough. You can kind of tell something's going on with a student, or even Pastor, when he was teaching, he gave an example 2 weeks ago. He could identify, you know, who had something going on outside of the classroom because they would sit to the back. We have to help our young men in any, however they're connected to us, ask open-ended questions. That's what the psychologists do. Tell me how you feel about this particular situation. Tell me how you feel about that particular person. How did that make you feel? What are your thoughts on that? And as you can open the door, because as men, we always trying to just solve. I'm getting checked all the time. I got a house full of women. We always trying to fix the problem. When in fact, most cases, fixing the problem is identifying what's going on. Tell me how you feel. You are right in feeling that way. If we let people know, let our young men know, hey, it's okay for you to feel that way, or you are justified in feeling that way because that's your feeling, at least.
Yeah. And
Patrick,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Patrick.
Say again.
I didn't know if you had a comment or not.
No. I was just adjusting my phone. That's all. I'm listening.
Go ahead, Brother Lacy.
No, I just want to add
real quick, y'all know I always, whenever I'm popping in, I'm coming in with comments.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm popping in again, and Brother Lacy, Pastor Lacy, just tie this in or whatever you're about to say. I want you to continue that thought, but I want to tie this in, since this was something that was a comment that was given or made, and because it was my auntie and she like my mama now, I got to say it, right? So she on here commenting and she firing off, y'all. So I'm finna go ahead and put on blast, and she gonna fire off on our Facebook page. So here's what she want to know. She said, I need, basically she's saying we need to tie this. She would like us to tie this into the gun violence that we're currently seeing when it comes to anger, us as black men feeling like we have to walk around with a chip on our shoulder. I remember growing up in high school, and there was this thing called mean mugging. And I put that in the notes in chapter 3 of when you talked about that, because that's what that reminds me of, is there were literal, and I'm sure some of y'all, there were fights just off of mean mugging in high school. Like just off of the way you looked at somebody. And even today, if you look at someone while you're driving today, and let's just say they cut you off the road, or you look at them crazy or they look at you crazy, that can turn into something, especially if it's a man. It can turn into something so quick that goes beyond just looking at each other. And so, and I was telling Brother Pat this the other day, is that a lot of times, because I'm not in the streets, my story is a lot like Pastor Lacy's. I grew up around gangsters, but I wasn't a gangster. But I grew up around them. They stay next door to me. You go outside, they become like your big brothers. They the ones that teach you how to drive. And at the time, you don't even know that they Crips. You know, you as a child, you just looking up to them. But so because I'm not into it, I don't really understand what's going on in the streets. But I do understand right now that there's a whole lot of shooting going on and a whole lot of killing. And I understand also the socio-economic tie to it. I understand that part. And so I'm not going to minimize that. However, I recognize that there's also this part of it too, where it's anger. And it's oh, he got the best of me, I'm finna kill him. I was looking at the first 48 hours the other day. That's what I look at to try to understand the mindset. And this kid literally murdered 2 of his friends simply because his roommate continued to tell him that he was wrong for dating a 17-year-old and he was like 21. And so because of him feeling like he was fronting him in front of his girl and making him feel like he was less than a man in front of his girl. He killed both of them. Pow, pow. And I said, man, that's anger. That's he got the best of me as a man, and I was ready to kill him. And I don't know if some of you all felt that way before or not, but let's tie all that in to what's going on in the streets today.
Let me
You
say
want me to
this.
go? Who's going?
Well, I'll start it off in the youngest chime. I just have a quick thing I want to say. One of the things we have to recognize is these are symptoms. Everything that we see that you're talking about, whether it's gun violence, these are symptoms of a deeper problem. And so what winds up happening, we try to treat the symptoms but not get to the cure of it all. And so forth. It's sort of like a cold. You take all kind of medicine, but if you take the wrong type of medicine, you're not addressing your congestion, you're not sneezing, all that. So we see a lot of symptoms when kids come to the school and they're acting out, and sometimes they act out violently, vulgar, just some of the activities that they do. The posting of things on social media that are very vulgar and obscene or profane, those are symptoms of things that have been dealt with. But the one thing I always want to say that the Bible is very specific about this. Where there's no vision, the people perish. And so you see people acting out in the streets that don't really have a vision of who they are as a king or as a queen. They have not locked in. I challenge you. Poverty does not make you violent. I know that for a fact. It doesn't make you violent. What makes you violent is that you do not have a compass in your life or a focus of who you can be or what you can be. And when people operate like that, they're just moving around nomadically and they're on what we say survival mode. I know what it's like to be on survival mode, to come to school. I am hungry. I didn't have much to eat. My mind ain't on no math and science and English. I want to get something to eat. So I understand that. But let me tell you, when you have vision, and if we can help these young boys and young girls develop a vision of the kings and the queens that they can be, when they're focused on that, they'll navigate through a lot of the mess that they go through and not get off track. I know this for a fact because I've had students, and I had a student 2 years ago at Green Oaks. She was homeless, living in a shelter, graduated with honors, and in college now I'm doing great. So there are many opportunities we have. And I guarantee you, if you have a conversation with these guys out there who are out there killing violently or doing these things, and you ask them from the time they were little to now, you will find that they have lost a vision or no one has revealed that to them. We know now that God, it gives us the wisdom to do the things that we can do. But when growing up, if you don't have someone who can hold you accountable, help you to be responsible, give you an opportunity to not only be successful, but also to fail without being discouraged in your failures, you're going to develop that. And it's hard to get a person off track when they are focused on what it is that they can be or what they want to do. It's very difficult to get them off track. But today we have so many of that. I deal with parents at schools who don't have vision. I got parents who will drive their children to somebody's house to fight. And the child will get up there and fight. And then the child goes down a road or a path of destruction because it is very, listen, if they don't have vision, they don't know where they're going. They cannot see, cannot imagine, and they cannot believe that they can be better than their circumstances. Patrick talked about it in his book when his mama and grandma and aunt sent him to go live with his father. The one thing I got out of it from listening to him is he started to develop a vision based off of what his daddy was. His daddy became a compass. Now, I'm saying you don't have to have your biological father. But what I'm saying is boys have got to have a compass and the right compass. Some of them got people they following. These guys in the street are making them feel love or what they perceive to be love. Yeah. They have that. But we've got to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is these kids they don't have any kind of true vision of what they can be, where they can go, and what the possibilities for their life can be. That's what's happening to them. Their dreams are being snuffed out by people around them who aren't allowing them to see the possibilities.
And because I'm looking at the comments as well, and somebody else asked, what about the gun violence? And I think along with what Coach Grant just said, when we talk about the absence of vision, let's tie all that into the gun violence then. And I think that with the absence of vision, the question then becomes, well, what has stolen that vision?
Right.
And that took me into a conversation that ties the whole emotion and gun violence thing together, which is something that's not talked about enough in the Black community, is the reality of mental health and post-traumatic stress that a lot of these young people are dealing with. Because one of the biggest mistakes that we've allowed to happen is allow PTSD to be limited to a military term, when in actuality, PTSD is associated with any type of trauma. If you go through any type of traumatic event, if you saw your mother get beat, if you saw, if your father leaves when you're young, if you watch your mother shoot up crack or heroin, if you were raped, if you saw somebody get raped, if you were molested as a young man. Now, of course, we don't call it molestation as a young man. We call it manhood. We earned our stripes. If we were at 10, 11, 12 years old and a woman came on to us, but that was molestation. And that's happening every day in our neighborhoods with our young people. And so when you have unaddressed PTSD and unaddressed emotional issues, and that person gets a hold to a gun, who does not know how to navigate the emotions that are going on in him, and all it takes is the smallest thing to trigger that. If we use the example that Pastor Wilson used about a young man, 21 years old, out of the smallest issue, just shoots his friend and his girlfriend. That's something. He didn't shoot them because of that situation.
Right.
He shot him because in that situation he got angry, having already deep-seated emotional issues, because he probably was molested himself at 21 if he's doing that with a 17-year-old. And that was the trigger that ignited something on the inside of him. I just spoke with 2 young men this week who were involved in some way, shape, form, or fashion in a killing. And the conversation that I had with them was if you ever talk to somebody that has either killed somebody or seen somebody get killed, it's one of the hardest conversations you're going to have, because they don't know how to deal and navigate the emotions that are going on the inside of them. And if they never get the assistance to navigate that, which most of us do not, because seeing a counselor in our community, that's taboo. For decades, it was considered sin. I mean, you're supposed to go to your pastor and pray about that. And we demonize mental health and we demonize counseling. And because of that, we didn't get the assistance to deal with the emotional trauma that many of us have. And so when that happens, the smallest thing triggers us. And because we don't know how to navigate it, what's the easiest way to deal with it? Bang. I can shoot you and it's done with. Or at least that situation is done with. So that's my response to the gun violence. It's dealing with the fact that we have young people as young as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I taught 3rd grade. I had 8-year-olds that are raising their 5 and 4-year-olds, sisters and brothers, because that's the responsibility that's been placed on them. Now, if that 8-year-old doesn't get some kind of assistance in mental health evaluation and help, that same 8-year-old could easily grow with anger and frustration, and the smallest thing can trigger that, and he shoots and kills somebody. So that's how I tie it all together.
And I want to just add that, and I'm gonna get Patrick or RV to chime in. And that's what I mean about these. We're seeing the symptoms and not really dealing with the real issue. And so whether it's gun violence, whether it's someone's economic background, social background of growing up, we overlook the fact that there are deeper issues than the actions or the words that the person has committed. And I want to kind of get back to this because we're talking about the book, and Patrick said this in his book. that a real man doesn't have to announce what he's going to do before he does it.
Yeah.
He just does it. I'm saying that because a lot of times these young people and grown men, let's not forget this, they will announce that they are in stress or in a stressful situation, and oftentimes it goes unnoticed. And then when they're met with confrontation, because they have been announcing their intentions ever since they were little boys and high school boys and young men, and not really dealing with that issue, when they get at a certain point and they meet that stress fracture, that stress level, things come out, just wrong a lot of times. But Patrick, kind of give. I really want to keep this in mind, that what you said, because I thought it was deep, that men don't really announce; they just do it. Talk in depth about that.
Okay. Before I go to that, I gotta chime in on what the previous conversation.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so the whole reason for writing this book was to try to get inside of the minds of people. That's the only way we're gonna make a difference. We have to get young men, black boys, black men to think different. And the only way we do that is by getting inside of their minds.
Yeah.
Now, this is gonna be a tough one I'm about to say, but just I don't know who's gonna be the man that's gonna be bold enough to take this and run with it. But this is the truth. So in most of these houses, the man is not there. All right. So that means for years and years and years, it's been the woman doing the raising. So I'm waiting for the day for the pastor to preach this sermon. What's worse, a missing father or a toxic mother? Because that's a topic we don't talk about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of toxic women. And it's a sensitive subject because the women are the buying power. The women are in the masses in the churches. The women are who's going to buy the book the most. So we kind of tiptoe around offending them or calling them out. Even now, I'm being bold by even bringing it up. But as much as my mom loved me, it's a lot of stuff I didn't learn until I got to my dad or until I met those men at different places in my life, at my job, because my mom was a good woman, but most women become whatever the man is that they're dating. Mm-hmm. So these young men are being they're going through all kind of stuff depending on who the women are choosing to bring around, depending on who the women are choosing to be in love with. And so, at some point, women got to make better choices. If this guy's a thug or he wearing his pants down, he don't get your attention. Because if you lay with this guy, have a child with this guy, or if you already got a child and you allow this guy to come around, it causes problems.
Yeah.
So guys like us, this is the only way the change is going to happen. And unfortunately, when you're a principal or a deacon, you don't always get their attention because they look at you like you don't understand or you don't know. And that's why I'm thankful that y'all bringing me on, because it brings some balance to it. Because we all the same at the end of the day. We all just trying to get as close to God as possible. We all trying to live the best life we can possibly live, and we all want peace. And so I appreciate what you said when you said you want to get the book into your library. And this is just not Pat Brown trying to sell books right now, but this is truth. I haven't seen the politicians, the pastors, they ain't knocking my door down saying, young brother, let me get this book. But this is the only way. Like, we gotta get inside of their heads. Like, every black principal, every black pastor should be calling me trying to get this book. But some, because they didn't write it, or some because they're not the focal point, they ain't gonna do that. And that's a problem within our community. I didn't write this book for no money. I ain't chasing. I'm already popular. I'm already doing okay. I ain't chasing popularity or money. I really want to get inside the minds of these young men, because the stuff I put in this book is real stuff that we all deal with, and it's not in any other book. It's not. There's no self-help roadmap for young black boys, and so we got to do what we're doing right now. It's the only way we stop the violence. We got to get inside of their heads. We got to have these workshops via social media. Then when the COVID is over, we got to have small groups where we talk to them and they see black men like us telling them it's okay. We gotta figure out a way to build their self-esteem up, because some of the women, some of their moms are tearing them down. The daddy ain't there, and they in the house with the mama, and some women are very emotional. So this young man is going through this stuff with his mom, and so it's black men like us gotta do this more and keep doing it. And unfortunately, it ain't nothing we can just fix overnight. It's just the truth. And so we have to become the fathers and role models to a nation of boys who don't have them, because their mom, she don't know what he's dealing with when he leave that house. I used to like to break dance and dance. I didn't want to fight, but every time I left my house, because I got a big nose, somebody gonna blow me in the neighborhood. Your big old nose. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is, you know how it is. You got crooked teeth or big lips or big nose, they gonna let you know about it when you leave the house. And at that point, you either gonna let them keep letting you know about it, or you going to defend yourself, and there's nothing you can do. That's how it is. That's not gonna change. So we gotta teach these boys how to make better decisions when they in them situations, because they moms and grandmamas, they just screaming, the killing need to stop, but they don't understand what goes on when they outside of that house. The nerdiest of the nerdiest boys have to deal with it. You either gonna get picked on or you gonna defend yourself, and it's just how it is in our community. And so I don't want to ramble, but black men like us, black administrators, black pastors, just black leaders, period, gotta have more forums like this to talk to these boys, because they don't have men talking to them, and their mamas they doing as good of a job as they can. My mom did as good of a job as she could, but she didn't teach me that stuff. She didn't teach me, how to deal with those situations. She just didn't. And so, I want to hear that sermon preached one day. What's worse, a missing father or a toxic mother? I want to hear that one day.
I preached it, but not with that topic, though.
Okay.
Well, you kind of gave a sort of a segue to some degree, because chapter 4, you kind of talked about women, and speaking your truth about women. And in so many ways, we have to remember as men, much of what we do and create in life actually involves our interaction with women, whether you marry them or not. And if you bear children with them, there's certainly a heightened responsibility and consequences for us not demonstrating what our children need to see growing up. I mean, so you talked about a number of different things, and one of the things that I thought was very interesting that you said.
Hold on, let me say a little prayer before you start this chapter. Okay, amen. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Ladies, okay, well, let me preface this and say, ladies, that he is not saying anything other than this is his experience, how he experienced it.
Yes.
It mean he was right. It doesn't mean that he was always wrong. It just simply, this is his truth. Okay, so
Yes.
if you are a part of this, please know we're not judging you, nothing like that. We love you. Please don't. Women, we love y'all. Don't, no, this ain't got nothing to do with tearing no woman down and nothing like that.
Oh no, not at
Okay,
all.
so this is actually about in helping men, young boys and young men do better for women. So you understand, you'll get this one as we discuss this. Patrick said this. He said, you give the right woman your vision, young king. She will help you build an empire. Now, I
Yeah.
thought that was outstanding in the thought because what it really says this, we have to be careful about who we bring into our lives and who we reveal to our vision, because not everyone is intended for you, first of all, nor is everyone intended to go further on with you. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, people come into our lives for momentary purposes and to bless us that. And sometimes we misappropriate the purpose and we drag people or try to keep people. This isn't just
Mm-hmm.
women I'm talking about. I'm talking about even men. We keep people in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the intention was for us to grow in that moment with them.
Mm.
But what you said about women, I find it to be very true in that regards. And you said that the majestic power that women possess has made life so much easier for me. Kind of talk in general about that as we remove and talk about young boys and so forth, but how women play a part. As you said, some are toxic women versus an absent man. But in this case, talk about how you believe women give you an opportunity to build an empire.
Okay, so I can't wait to start traveling and talking about this to young men because it's true. As a young man, we grow up being applauded for being able to being athletic or how many girls you can get. It's just the truth. The guy who can get the girls, he the man. Well, as you get older, you start to realize that you're really just searching for something. You're really just searching for love, and you're searching for that person to believe in you. And you're not even, once you accept God and you're really a godly man, ladies, this is the truth. You're not going to believe it, but it's the truth. Your intent is not to be a player or a dog. You're just looking for that connection, that real spiritual connection. You're looking for that person that's going to believe in you regardless. And unfortunately, sometimes, you meet somebody and you have unprotected sex, young men, which you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't do it before you get married. And if you're going to do it, make sure you protect yourself. But because the biggest decision you make in your life is who you decide to have kids with. Because young men, y'all are going to be attached to each other forever. So one little night of happiness can be a lifetime of confusion and problems depending on who you decide to have unprotected sex with. And I think we need to say this. So every woman you meet, you don't have to have a sexual relationship with if it's not a godly connection and if you don't plan on marrying this woman. And I went through that, and I need these young men to know that. So that's why I'm talking about it, because it wasn't that I wanted to have 4 kids by 3 different women, 2 by my wife, but I was searching for someone. I had my first child at 22. It was with my neighborhood friend. We was friends. We shouldn't have even been messing around. We shouldn't have even been having sex, but we was grown. I was 22, she was 20, and we had a great relationship. We still do, but we were not supposed to be having sex. Every good relationship don't have to turn into a sexual relationship. And it did. And so I had a child whom I love, and I got a lot from her. But I remember when she was pregnant, I asked my mom, and I want young men to hear this. I asked my mom, should I marry her? Because I never wanted to have a child out of wedlock because I wanted to be in the house with my child and the woman. I wanted my child to see that. My mom said, if you're marrying her for the child, then it's not what you should do. So we talked about it, and we just became great co-parents. But I want to let young men know, like, every single woman that I've had a child with or I've had relationships with, I got something great from them. Number one, you got to respect these women. You know, they're not just some sex object. You got to respect them, because if I don't want to be all over the place. If you find that right woman that you have a spiritual connection with, and you put your all into that one right woman, what you get from her is magical. There's no other way to explain it. It's the return you get from that investment, from investing into one woman, is magical. And I don't think men are being told that enough. And it's not something that's easy. We need to tell them it ain't gonna be easy, because they selling sex everywhere, all over the TV screen. They showing women and revealing stuff. They showing them all over social media. If you're a man, you gonna see it and you gonna be attracted to it, but that don't mean you have to make a move on it because you feel that way. And so I wanted to be true. I wanted to tell them that you're not wrong for looking at other women, but man, fight with everything you got to find that one that you can be spiritually connected to and put your all into that one. That's really the basics of that's the foundation of chapter 4. It wasn't about wanting to talk about the different women I've been with. It was wanting to talk about how that happens for men, period, if we're all truthful. How I was in a marriage and the marriage got cold and we separated and I started seeing somebody else. I wasn't proud of it, but it happens. So back to Brother Lacey, I didn't get counseling. We need to get counseling. We need it because it happens. Like, listen to me, young men. Anybody you see that's been married 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, it ain't all peaches and cream. Like TD Jake said, there's nothing natural about being with one woman for a lifetime. Supernatural. Like if God ain't in it, it ain't gonna work. Period. Ain't no way around it. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing easy about it. Ain't nothing natural about it. I'm counseling myself right now. If God is not in it, it's not gonna work. That's with any relationship. That's with guys too, but especially with your wife. Brother Lace, I see you shaking your, come on, time in, help me out, Brother Lace. I see you shaking your head over there.
Well, you said any, and that's the thing I want to emphasize, because here's the thing that a lot of people make the mistake. They make the mistake of, if I leave this person for this person, that's somehow going to alleviate the issues associated with being in a relationship. I don't care what woman you get with, or women, I don't care what man you get with. There's a struggle that's associated with their relationship. That there's some things all women do. There's some things all men do. It's just a part of the DNA of that particular gender. I preached a series of teachings years ago called Pick Your Currency. And what that topic means is that every situation you get in has a price to pay. You just got to figure out which one is worth the cost of admission. But every woman,
that's good.
Right now, we've been together.
Let me go get my money. That's good.
The woman, my wife, we're going on 16 years. Everything you just said, Pat, it sums up the relationship all together. She was worth cost of admission of whatever issues and challenges we had in our relationship. It hadn't been peaches and cream. And every time there was a challenge, I had to sit back and tell myself, do you want to lose the good associated with her for that small amount of bad? And the vice versa. She has to ask herself, do you want to lose the good associated with this person for this little bit of bad that if you leave them, the next dude you get with probably going to do some of the same stuff?
Hey, hold on. I gotta write that down. Do you want to lose the good? Say it again.
Are you gonna lose the good in this person? At the cost of that little bit of bad.
I like that. Kind of the 80-20 rule. I like that.
Because I promise y'all, there's 4 people on this panel. There's something all 4 of us do that'll drive our woman crazy. That if she was to leave you and come to me, she gonna wake up one morning and like, I should have stayed where I was. Because it's the same thing. There's something all of us do. And so that's the thing about relationships, that because this is the topic of conversation, I'm saying men need to understand, you want to leave your woman because she talk a lot. All women talk a lot. They're wired to talk. They're wired to talk, and they don't have to have a point to what they're talking about, because women are what I call horizontal creatures. I wrote a book years ago called The Dating Game, and it was about relationships. And in that book, I talk about the fact that women are horizontal creatures, men are vertical creatures. By horizontal, that's relational. That's across the plane. Women are relational people. That's why they can be on the phone and have a conversation, and there's no topic to that conversation. It's just random conversation. But the fact that they have a conversation is the point of the conversation. Because men are vertical, we have to have a point to everything that we do. So our conversations, the only reason the 4 of us is on this panel right now, there's a point to the conversation. The moment there's no point to the conversation, that conversation is over.
Right.
Because we are driven, goal-driven creatures. And so that's why I was shaking my head when you said that something wrong with all of us. I'm like, that's the thing that's missing in relationships, is we jump to one to another thinking we're gonna find something in one that we didn't find another, from a negative perspective. That somehow the issues associated with the female gender are gonna disappear just because you got with this one. No, what you got to do is what Pat said, and which is find that woman that can take what you have, because the right one, I mean, he couldn't have said it no better. The right woman would take what you have and supernaturally, magically I would not be pastoring for 12 years if I wasn't married to Angela Lacey. It ain't no way. Because she has a dynamic to me that makes up for my insufficiencies. No other woman has.
RV, you had something you want to add?
I just want to start off. I would not be a part of this podcast if it wasn't for my wife, because she's all technologically sound. I just want to throw a little joke in there, fellas. No, but one thing that stands out, man, we treat women and we go after women based off a lot of our influences. Your mother, you may not realize it right up front, but a lot of the qualities, or our auntie, or somebody that you recognize, you admire. A lot of us will, look at qualities, whether directly or indirectly. Either you look for a woman somebody that's familiar, if that makes sense. And when I looking, me trying to search, I was engaged before I married my wife, and I didn't have that teaching or that training to how to handle a woman's emotions. I didn't have that because I saw the opposite growing up. And some things I carry with me, not thinking, subconsciously, I carry with me, this is how I'm gonna do this, this is how I'm gonna do that. But then some things stood out. I made it a point that I'm not gonna treat mine like that. I'm not gonna talk to mine like that. I'm not gonna handle that situation like that. And so, growing up, your experiences, like I said, directly and indirectly, it plays a factor with what type of woman you look for, what type of women you fall for, and how you treat them going forward.
You know, and I think you all are right. And something you said, Lacey, that I always said, even when me and my wife had issues in our marriage, we've been married, we'll be married 25 years come June of next year, June 1st. We just celebrated our 24th. And I've been knowing her much longer than that. I met her as a freshman in Grambling when I was at Grambling, and I was really in my 4th year at Grambling. And I remember, and I always tell her this, that I always love her more or greater than the issue that bothers me, if that makes sense to you. In other words, if the issue is greater than how much I love you, we're done.
Okay, right.
And so forth. And I remember when I first met her, she was a freshman in college, and she probably don't want me to tell this, but this really it really explains how I feel towards my wife. Even then, when I met her, she was real good to me, man. Just took care of me in the sense it didn't really know me to the degree. If I needed something, it was like she knew I needed something. She would just call and said, "Everything all right? You need something?" I'm like, "How she know I need something?" But I remember telling her after we dated for about 3 weeks, maybe, not even truly dated, but just was kind of seeing, I told her I think it's best that she see other people. She was like, "Why would I tell her that?" Because I was a senior, she was a freshman, and I developed relationship with other women on campus, and I was about football in school. I really wasn't into having no straight relationship. Now people would say, "Oh, you were trying to be a dog and be a player." I wasn't. I really was in college focused like that, in which that was not a priority. Me going out, and there are a lot of people from college that say, you know, I don't remember Grant being out and about. I didn't. I didn't even have an alcoholic drink till like my senior year in college. Man, I just wasn't there. I didn't smoke. I didn't do nothing. Didn't go anywhere. People used to drag me to parties because it was about school and playing football, because that's what got me there, and that's what I was going to use to propel myself in life. So I told her that, and it hurt her. It really did, because she was really into me. And her girlfriends used to see me on campus and just call me all kinds of stuff. But man, I could see how I could love her back then. And I didn't even tell her I love you, but I could see it. She was, long story short, when I left, I graduated, went on, was trying to make it in the NFL and so forth. She called my mom, and she called and got my number, and she called and said, could she come visit and see me? And that's how we reconnected a year or so after I'd been out of college, and we reconnected. And I say this to people, that I was willing to not hurt somebody that I cared about more than I cared about bringing somebody in my life for my own selfish pleasures. That was the point. That's how much I loved her, that I could have been the guy that just did the thing. So I'm saying this to guys, and I'm saying this to men and women out there, that frustration comes, but I've got to see, I could see my wife. And I'm reminded about this, and I don't want to preach to nobody, but when Jesus came up on the funeral procession of the widower who was burying her only son, it said that Jesus saw her. And that's how I think that we have to be when it comes to our relationships. If we don't truly see how this person undergirds us in spite of our mess, how we can undergird them in spite of them. In other words, I don't see the mess like I see the potential of what it can be. Yeah. In other words, because we all got something, as you said, messed up about us. But the fact that my wife can love me in spite of the things that she can, man, that's amazing to me. And so I try to expound that and present that. And in doing so, in loving my wife the way I love my wife, I am modeling for my son and for my daughter. You know, don't forget that when we show our relationships, our children learn, and Michael and Brother RV, you alluded to this, they are learning how to be in a committed relationship. How many of us talk to our boys, even at a young age, about not being an adult? So well, he just learning and they no. Talk to him that you do not try to be dealing with both these little girls at the same time. If you're done with this one, you talk to her and let her know, get her phone up number, stop receiving a text. Yep, because that causes problems. Well, we have to do that so the guys don't think that it's all right to be up on it. So we could inadvertently, put things on our children, and as they grow up, they struggle doing it. So I make sure my children see me and my wife laugh. They've seen us argue, but they've seen us discuss. They've seen us come to resolutions. They've seen us walk around our hands, holding hands. They see us make decisions together. That's important that we share with our children about that. And the last thing I want to make a point, I know I'm going on a little bit longer than others, we got to talk to each other when we're going through something. Do you have a friend that you can reveal and talk to me, man? Me and Cindy going through a rough spell, and he can hold you accountable for first being a man, but being a godly man in the situation. That's what we need. We don't have enough men talking to men. You said it, Pat. You said it, Lacey. Women get on the phone all the time talking about their relationship. Girl, this man gone again, blah, 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 whatever it is. But they have outlets to talk to about dealing with it.
Yeah.
And men, sometimes we don't want to do that because I don't want my brother to feel I can't handle my woman. It ain't about handling my woman. I need help, and you can help me.
Yeah.
Brothers, what's up? Whenever I chime in, first thing I want to let you know, the conversation has been great. We're an hour and 15 minutes, but however, I didn't interrupt us because there are a lot of people chiming on. So you guys keep going as long as you feel the need to. But I do want to pose a question from Sister Angela Lacey. I think Pastor Lacey may be familiar with that name.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So she wants to know, at what age do you think it's appropriate for a young man to begin dating a young lady?
I'll take this one real brief. My daughter came to me, wanted to know about dating this guy. She was, keep in mind, that's my heart. I'm telling you, that's my heart. I'll bust your head to the white meat if you just look at it. But I asked her, I didn't tell her no, she couldn't date him. I asked her, well, what do you know about him? She said, what do you mean? I said, does he live with his mom and his dad? She said, I don't know. I said, does he go to church? Has he been baptized like you? She said, I don't know. I said, what is it he want to do after he get out of high school? She said, I don't know. I said, well, then no, you can't date him. She said, why? I said, you know nothing about him. So if you ask me when is an appropriate time for a boy or a girl to date somebody, it is when they know enough about them in a sense that you can then see whether or not they're, as the Bible says, equally yoked, or whether or not they have something in common that's leading to it. In other words, if my daughter is studious, I don't want her dating somebody who's not studious, in a sense. I want her to date someone who has the same thought process that school is important, God is important, and that they can mesh. Because when they get out of your household, they're going to date all kind of people. So I just try to teach them, make sure you know the people. What do you know about them? What makes them tick? Where are they spiritually? So for me, the age for my daughter to begin dating wasn't until she turned 16 for me. That was for me. I thought at 16 she could then start to inquire and ask questions. We raised her growing up in church. I talked to her about boys. I talk to her with not just what boys say, what they do. Because you guys know, men, we speak by what we do. And some guys will come tell you, girl, you're beautiful, you're fine, and all of that. But, watch what he do more than what he's saying to you, because that's got him trouble. So that's for me. 16 was the age for me because I felt she could then ask the appropriate questions and know what that meant.
So I don't have a comment. I have a follow-up question. I'm pulling from y'all wisdom right now. So is that more of got two questions. Is that more of a maturity thing than an age thing? And did you use that same dynamic for your son?
Yeah, I used it for my son and I used it for my daughter. And I will say this, I was a little more cautious with my daughter because she is my daughter, and I know me. I know how slick fast, how slick talking I could be. So I wanted her to know that. But when it came to my son, I told him the same thing. And I told him, hey, just because she real developed right now don't mean she grown. And you know how we as boys, we see girls and they look a certain thing, but what I was telling him was the same thing. What is she about? You know, what is she doing? And you know, and he was the example. So I think it's important that we, as they're growing up, like for instance, and this is normal. I talked to my daughter about boys when she was 9 and 10. That, you know, that because see, my wife can talk to her about, you know, about women and being. I can tell her about boys. I can't tell her about girls. Like, and so when it came to my son, I just try to tell him how to treat women, but he needs to hear from his mama what a slick, fast girl. And now I can tell him a fast girl. There ain't no doubt. But my point is, the mindset of the boy and the mindset of the girl are not that much different. It is the perspective that they're operating from that is going to make it difficult. So for my daughter, I want her to see the value in how I treat her mother, to know what are elements of how she should be treated. So when that guy came to the house and he blew the horn one time, and she said, "Okay, bye, I'm about to go." I said, "Where you going?" She said, "Oh, so-and-so." I said, "That him who blew the horn?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, no. Tell him come in the house." When he came to the house, I told him, "Don't you ever come to my house again, blow the horn." And my daughter, and I told Stevie, "Don't you jump out and run." He come to the house. He can speak to your mom and dad. He can escort you to the car. Now, what I'm teaching him, and I'm also teaching her, because he needed to know. You see what I'm saying? He's a young man. He don't know. He think that's what we do. Oh, we're going to treat her like the queen she is. So you come to the house, you escort her to the door, and you open the door. I still open the door for my wife now and my daughter. I do that for them now. So modeling for that, teaching them that. So when they were younger, talk to them. Talk to them. I talked to my son about getting an erection when he was like in 3rd grade. What does that mean? I'm serious, guys. We got
No, you got to. I'm laughing, but you're right.
because they develop differently in different ways. Many of the young ladies in schools are more mature than the boys because they have more responsibilities at a younger age. They're the ones who are primarily taking care of the little brothers and sisters. The boy ripping and running, playing basketball on the street. So we have to teach them, and Lacey asked a great question about that, maturity versus age. The conversation, you have to start the conversation at a time that you think they can handle it. But at the same time, you have to let them develop, but you have to continue to show them along the way, because the issue ain't going to be when they're coming back and forth into your house. The issue going to be when they leave your house and they're out on their own, when they go to college. That's so you got to start early on engaging them about these things. That's just my belief.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up. I want to give each one of you an opportunity to give a last word again. Lost Black Boys. We have a lot of people on our live stream today that's inquiring about the book. Lost Black Boys. Here's our author with us today, Brother Patrick Brown. He's local here in Shreveport, entrepreneur. I encourage everybody to get this book. I bought several books. I've been giving them away. I bought some for the high school, Huntington. So let's continue to support it, but also look at it as an opportunity to really encourage somebody else by simply giving them a book. So we want to wrap it up with this. I have a young man, and I just want each one of you to take a minute or two to encourage this young man. He's a young man. He's 17 years old. He has, this is his last year, his senior year of high school. He's about to graduate. He would like to go into the military. However, he has an issue. One of the issues is he's going from home to home, and I'm not making this up, but I'm not going to give you his name. He's going from home to home. Currently, he's staying with his girlfriend that is 19 years old. He also would like his mother, his mother and his sister to be back together. However, his mother is struggling with some personal issues as well as his sister. So right now he feels hopeless. Again, he's 17. He's on his third strike in a juvenile detention center. Does not have an opportunity to mess up again. All right. He's, again, a few months from graduation, 9 months, however long the school year is. Right now, currently, as we speak, living with his 19-year-old girlfriend, lost his job during the pandemic, wants to go to the military, trying to keep it straight for 9 months so he can get out of here and hopefully change his life. What words do you all have for him as we leave? Michael RV, we'll start with you and we'll pass it on. We'll pass it through to close out.
There's a scripture that comes to mind. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added unto you. Right now, young man, I urge you to seek God, seek his will for your life. That'll keep you out of trouble. If you keep yourself on the straight and narrow, then you'll be able to help your family. But right now, priorities, always your priorities. Get out of school, graduate, stay close to God, get yourself on your feet. Then you'll be able to position yourself to be able to help others. A man told me years ago, you do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later. But Matthew 6:33, seek God first, stay focused, get yourself in a position where you can help others. That'll keep you out of trouble. That'll get you to where you're going. God bless you. I'll be praying for you.
I would say on a similar fashion, but be intentional. To say I want to do this and say I want to do that means that you've been thinking about it and you dream about it. But write it down. I'm literally telling you, write it down, what it is that you want to do, and then make goals to accomplish that. So you say you want to go into the military, and then you need to make the steps. You want to do the things for your parents. You got to make sense. It's difficult, and I'm saying it like this because the thing that you got to get over and get through is to yourself. And once you get to yourself and you get over yourself and start to really make concrete plans, write it down so you see it every day, the things that you say you want to do. Write down the steps that it takes to get there. If you don't know the steps, share that with somebody who could then help you with the steps. There's an old Malenka, a West African proverb says, nothing is accomplished in a dream. And when you think about that, you dream about this stuff and you want this and you want that. It ain't going to happen until you actually go and start working to it. Humble yourself to ask people. I cannot express that enough. And you're doing a great thing reaching out. But keep asking. And don't be afraid of the word no. I don't care how they say it. I don't care if they say, man, get out of my face. I ain't helping you. Whatever it is, just no. That's just God letting you know who can't help you. Move on to that, but just put it together. Write it down. Keep visioning. Keep speaking to it. Get up in the mirror every day and say it. Speak it into your existence. Because if you can think about it, if you can think on it long enough and you can talk about it and talk to other people about it, you can make it happen. So just keep working and keep grinding. It's going to get tough. The closer you get to your goal, it's going to get tougher. And you got to just keep grinding and keep humble and keep doing what is right as best you can.
I would say to the young man to come see me and sit down and talk to me. Because everything that Michael Larvey and Mr. Grant said is 100%. And one of the things that I do in my secular job is help people strategically plan. We call it strategic planning. And so as my two brothers before me said, he's going to need a plan and he's going to need an intentional plan. and he's going to need help putting that together. So I offer myself and my services to him to help him do that, and to give him a realistic plan to do those things that he says he wants to do, and actually puts them on paper. The Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. And so that's what I help him do if he wants to come talk to me and do that.
I would say to the young man that I'm gonna quote the author of the book. You can only truly find yourself in low places. So I would say take advantage of this time right now. Get close to God. Find you a mentor, one of these guys that's speaking. Come see one of us. Reach out to us. We not gonna embarrass you. We not gonna act like you're going through something we haven't gone through. Brother Lacey does it professionally, so he would be the person to reach out to, number one. But if you find yourself connecting to any one of us, other people, call one of us, reach out to us, and we're here for you. And if not us, find you somebody. But just know that whatever you're going through right now is not going to last. And we've all been in that place, even if it was a different type of situation. So it's going to pass. It's going to pass. And your mind is in the right place. But like they're telling you, you got to put it on paper, and you got to begin to take those steps. Because if you don't, it won't happen. So that's what I would say to the young man. Don't give up, and keep pushing forward, and find you somebody that you can talk to.
Listen, brothers, thank y'all so much. I think it's important that as we leave, I want you to know that this is just a village, a conversation, a village of brothers gathered together. And I'm grateful to have each one of you. And I felt like that this would be valuable to our community. Thank you again, Pastor Lacey. Again, listen, what I want you to know is that young man is real life story. And what I'll make sure I do is I'll make sure that I get him in touch with Pastor Lacey from their job perspective in. And I want you to know this is just an example of one man recognizing that I cannot help these young men by myself. And so I don't even want to try to be Superman. I recognize that there are some resources and skills and life experiences that I don't have, that other men that I know have, or that I can reach out to, like Pat Brown, that may have, and we can come together. I'm saying I'm making an appeal to all men today and women, to our entire community, to the entire community today. Listen, let's get back to being a village. Let's drop the egos. Let's help each other. Let's work with each other. This panel today is an example of egolessness, because we're trying to work on making something happen. And what I'm simply meaning today is that, man, it didn't matter. Even though I'm the pastor, this not about me. That's why I just got out of the conversation, because I just want us as a community to work together as a village to help save our sons and our daughters. Thank God for this particular way. I want you to know that if you missed this broadcast, you can go back and replay it, or we're starting a audio podcast as well on the app Podbean, Podbean. You can download that app, go to GBC Men's Bootcamp, and you will be able to hear the podcast replay of our audio sessions. Listen, 2 weeks from now, hopefully again, we do this again, and we continue to push the book as well as the issue of because of others' testimonies, Christ answered our prayers. Thank y'all so much. I love each and every one of you, brothers. And listen, I look forward to tomorrow. Listen, it's third pastor's anniversary tomorrow. I won't be preaching, but please tune in. We got a special guest at 10:15. I promise you all, your mind is going to be blown to see who's going to preach the sermon on Sunday at 10:15. That's why I want you to know about it. I'm looking forward to it. God bless you all for coming on today. I love each and every one of y'all, man. Listen, this is what we're going to do as we leave. As always, brothers, let me get a woo, woo, woo.
I can't do that because it sounds too much.
That's a Galilee thing. Hey, have you ended it?
No, I ain't ended it. Go ahead. What you want to say?
I just want to say one thing. It jumped on my heart, so I got to say it, bro. I appreciate what Galilee is doing. And so I want to say to that young brother, find you a good church home. There are still good black men of God out here.
He in Galilee.
And I can say this, y'all can't say it, so this coming from me. There's still good black men of God that's not prosperity preaching. Yeah. It ain't all about money. It's about your soul getting to heaven. It's about peace of mind. Yeah. Somehow it changed. It changed. And about 10, 15 years ago, the church thing became a prosperity thing. And people started, everybody chasing money. What about your soul? So I just want to say, find you a good church, and I like what Galilee is doing. Galilee is a good, solid church. It's always been a good, solid church. Find you a good, solid church. That's what's got us here. That's how we got from slavery to here. It was the black church. So I know the black church ain't as popular no more. But find you a good church, brother. Whoever that young brother is. I just want to say that to him. I want to say that. Find you a good church.
Yeah. He in Galilee, Pat. We got him, man. But I'm gonna hook him up with
Oh, he in Galilee? That's great. That's even better.
Brandon, I'll make sure I send them over there to you, bro.
I got you, brother.
All right, love y'all, man. Y'all have a good Saturday afternoon.
Pat,
peace out.
Pat, I'm ordering some books this week, man.
What you say, bro?
I'm ordering some books this week. Just
holler at me. I got you.
All right.
You know I'm a salesman at heart. You might open your door. I might be in your front yard.
And everybody looking, order your book. Order your book and order your sons and your sons the book. Too. Get the book. I'm telling you. I ain't playing. Love y'all.
All right. Take care.
All right, man. I enjoyed it.